In this video, we will discuss about this inflammatory bowel disease and compare it with this normal bowel. In our last video, we have discussed that this inflammatory bowel disease or disease related to the inflammation are arise because of the imbalance in the pro-inflammatory and anti-inflammatory response. And there are several factors that plays a role in the balancing of this pro-inflammatory and anti-inflammatory response, and disruption in any of these factors might lead to the inflammation disease, and some of the chronic disease are been categorized into this inflammatory bowel disease. So in the case of the normal bowel, we can see that there is a thick mucus layer, and also the small chain fatty acids are produced that helps in the production of these antimicrobial products. Whereas in the case of this inflammatory bowel disease, because of the environmental conditions, what will happen, this small chain fatty acid get reduced, and the antimicrobial products will also get affected, whereas this uh, proteomicrobial products will get formed, and the mucus layer also in the case of this inflammatory bowel disease is thin compared to this normal bowel disease. And the E-categorin, which is the cell adhesion molecules, are been found to be low in the case of this inflammatory bowel disease. And because of this, there is a gap that starts to occur between two cells of this inflammatory bowel disease, and also the thickness is low, so there is a more possibility for the passage of the foreign microbes uh, within the through this inflammatory bowel, and cause problems to the host. And apart from this, the goblet cells will also get disrupted and will start producing the improper MUC2 realm M beta cells. Along with this, the NOD2 and AT G16L1 and alpha defensive will also get disrupted. And in terms of the innate immunes, in the case of normal bowel, there is a production of dendritic cells with the CX3 CR1 receptors, and that helps in maintaining the pro-inflammatory and anti-inflammatory responses. As we can see in this figure, that it regulates these T regulatory cells that will control the T effector cells, thereby maintaining the uh, pro-inflammatory or controlling the pro-inflammatory response through this anti-inflammation factors, that is T regulatory cells. And also this macrophages with CD14 also plays an important role in maintaining the also plays an important role in the innate immune response. Whereas in the case of this inflammatory bowel disease, the dendritic cells has this weakened or improper CX3 CR1 receptors. Because of this, it leads to the weakened autophagy of the dendritic cells in the case of inflammatory bowel disease. And also the balance between pro-inflammatory and anti-inflammatory will get disrupted. As one of the example that is shown here is that the T regulatory cells will not be performing normally in the case of inflammatory bowel disease, and this leads to the whereas the pro-inflammatory response will not get affected too much, as the integrin will interact with this alpha beta receptors on the epithelial cells, and it will trigger the T activation of the T cells into this Th17 cells, Th1 cells, Th2 cells. And since there is no balance available from the anti-inflammation factors, that is T regulatory cells, it will lead to the uh, prolonged pro-inflammatory response, and that will cause the inflammatory bowel disease. And this is the reasons there is a balance between anti-inflammation and pro-inflammation factors needs to be maintained, and so that the the immune system within the host will be able to perform its function normally. And apart from the T cells, the other factors that are also get affected is in the such as this autophagy. Such as these genetic cells will promote TGF beta, and TGF beta is one of the cytokines or growth factor for epithelial to mesenchymal transition. And because of this, uh, this TGF beta will also be one of the factors that will promoting the decrease in the E-categorin, and that will lead to the weakened cell-cell interactions in this inflammatory bowel disease. And so, whereas in the case of normal bowel, we cannot see this kind of growth factors are being secreted by the immune cells or the macrophages. So these are some of the symptoms or some of the problems that are occurred in this inflammatory bowel disease mechanism. Uh, and that why the main uh, gist behind this is that there is an imbalance between pro-inflammatory and anti-inflammatory response that leads to this inflammatory bowel disease that we have discussed in our last that we have uh, discussed in our last video also. If you need to understand more about this inflammatory bowel disease, you can go through the reference that has been provided in the description. That's all for this video. Thank you for your time.